All right, looking great. All right, man. So usually at the start of these things, there's a bit of preamble and stuff like that. But yeah, is this so? You were saying this is the first time that you've been here? Yeah, you haven't seen all this.
No, not from this level. Yeah.
The planes going past and stuff.
Nice.
I mean, it makes you think that AI is like great and everything, but it's nice to touch grass.
Exactly.
Like it's nice to be in the real kind of world and stuff.
Yeah.
People can see the Opera House, but what can you see looking out this way?
Just this one guy swatting flies off his balcony.
Oh, really? Seriously?
Swatting flies.
Welcome
Carrying a baby.
Welcome to Australia, folks. This is all part of it. But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming down, and we'll get the interview underway in 3, 2, 1. And we're back, and this is another amazing interview that we get to do. We're so lucky to do. There's so much talent here in Australia. This is all part of the Getting to Know the Community and Projects series. Here we have a man, the myth, the legend, Techie Ray Sun, lawyer at HSF, breakdancer as well, doing all heaps of stuff if you know his Techie Ray channel. But Ray, we're here to get to know you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Let's go. High five. Let's go.
Oh, that was crap. Let's do it again. There we go.
That was good.
Proper.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on your show, your podcast, Mark. So by way of background, I'm a tech lawyer at a large law firm called Herbert Smith Freehills, and I specialize in emerging tech, and more specifically AI, which I'll get into a bit later. But on the side, I do various things. I'm an app developer. Mainly specializing in machine learning and more specifically computer vision, and also a bit of mobile dev, web dev, stuff like that, and also a bit of content creation. So I like posting on LinkedIn and YouTube, and like also TikTok. I like posting about AI projects, AI technologies, tips and tricks. Whereas on LinkedIn, I like to post about AI regulation, which is like really my passion area as well. And also do a bit of dancing on the side, which I sometimes post just for the lols. But yeah, that's about it, me. Yeah.
Well, we should for all of those things. I mean, people are going to see on screen as you were talking about that, all of these different areas, and obviously check the show notes below, folks, because we've got the links there. But I think if you were to transport yourself back to like a couple of 100 years ago, like Leonardo, you'd be like a bit of a renaissance man.
That's a high compliment, man. Thank you.
I think so, especially when you're doing so well in all these different fields. It's amazing. And am I remembering correctly? Are you self-taught in terms of building in the AI space?
Yeah, it's a long story.
We've got time.
Well, my journey in AI started from my journey to coding, because you need to learn code to kind of learn AI. So I started coding as a hobby since high school. So as a high school kid, I loved playing video games, and my friends and I, we wanted to make our own games. Originally, we would build games on a game maker studio, like a drag and drop interface, but there are constraints to these platforms. You can't build the games that you imagine. You're constrained by the platform. So that's the motivation for us to start learning code. I started learning Python. That's probably the go-to language to learn.
Absolutely.
I got this amazing book. This book taught me from the basics all the way to how to build a Space Invader game.
Wow.
And I just did that tutorial. I then had this technique where I would delete the game and then rebuild it, and delete it and rebuild it until I could rebuild the game without following the tutorial. And once that helped me really understand the basics of programming. So that was around end of high school. And then since then, I then, tweaked the game into something else, into another program.
Yep.
And slowly I developed confidence to build my own projects. And how I got into AI was really during lockdown and COVID.
Okay.
I was always in the background reading about AI. I always had this fascination with robots and AI, Iron Man, Astro Boy, all that good stuff. So I've always wanted to do something around AI, but it was really the impetus was during lockdown, no more dance classes. I wanted to dance, and there was no dance teacher, so I was following videos on YouTube, but it's not the same, man. Like dancing to a YouTube video is not the same as
in front
a
of
teacher.
your mirror.
Exactly. That's when I thought, why not have an AI that could evaluate me? And This was before ChatGPT, so this was before
Yeah.
AI got popular. I generally wanted to build AI to solve my own personal problem, not for the hype. And that's where I started learning to computer vision. That was like the main gateway for that. I learned about pose estimation, how that worked.
Uh-huh.
And then I developed an algorithm that could basically compare your dance video to the original dance video, compare how similar they are, and identify screenshots where you could improve upon.
Wow.
That was a pretty... I vlogged that project, so that was a smart. I think that was a smart thing I did. I vlogged it. I posted it on YouTube. People loved it.
Yeah.
Then someone suggested, why don't you use your algorithm to evaluate K-pop dancers? For those who don't know, K-pop dance is all about synchronization. You watch a video, they're really like tight and clean. Applied my algorithm to K-pop dancers. I basically ranked these groups, and because K-pop is so popular, people in Asia loved it. My videos got viral in Asia, and
Wow.
that's kind of kickstarted my content creation journey. Since then, I've been creating TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. But along that, I've been, continuing to hone down my AI skills, especially in the dance tech space. I'm not sure if that's a proper word, dance tech, but
I think it is now.
Yeah, dance tech.
I was about to ask. Yeah.
That's basically my thing. That my angle in AI dance tech.
You need that on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah.
Lawyer, dance tech.
Yeah, I
other.
should do that. Yeah, and yeah, I slowly my algorithm caught the attention of K-pop companies. I partnered with a Japanese K-pop company called Lapone Entertainment.
Okay.
They licensed my algorithm
Wow.
and they applied it to a TV show. So that's a
right.
cool gig. Yeah.
So how did they use it in the TV show?
Yeah. So they had. So this company manages a boy group called JO1, and they have this variety TV show where they'll do random tasks for fun. But one of the tasks, they will try to learn a dance in 5 minutes, and then they'll try to dance together and see how well they perform together. And they used my algorithm to evaluate the performance.
Wow.
And that was all like broadcast in Japan. I've never been to Japan before, but to know that your product's been to other
You're a
countries.
celebrity there already.
Well, yeah, just from in that particular angle, yeah. But it was really cool, and that
Amazing.
inspired me to then, because people would request it. Because back then, my system was closed; it was only on video, so that's why I created my mobile app Sync Trainer, so that people could use it. It's free to access, and people could just use it to evaluate the dance, the gymnastic moves, anything that requires synchronization.
Yeah.
That's what my app is for.
I love it. Like, see, the thing is, going from dance, and you said it, there could be many other use cases for this kind of stuff, especially where a certain type of movement, and maybe it's not even, we're on the verge of robots. We're seeing GPT models training robots, and so that's a scary but also wonderful kind of thought, like seeing what we could do to improve how these helpers are out there, but evaluating them and seeing how good they are, as well as humans doing other tasks apart from dance. It could be sports, physio type stuff. There's so many great applications with computer vision. It's really interesting, man.
Like, AI is basically automating human senses. So any use case that requires human senses is basically an AI use case, and that's basically everything in the universe. Like, of course, there's some degrees, some use cases can't be fully automated or partially automated, but there is extent of automation in everything that we do. So it's a great area. Yeah.
Think about like where we are now, where we're starting to see the verge of AI automating so many tasks that we take for granted, like right now, that we just do manually, that are actually mundane kind of tasks when you really think about it. And we've improved so much from where things were, say, 30 years ago 30 years ago is the 90s. That's not that long ago, but even 20 years ago. And think where we will be in 20 years' time. People will look back at this time where we think we're advanced. We are nothing. I mean, the pace of innovation, that is just unstoppable.
Yeah.
And yet that we always see the same cycles. People want to push back against innovation. Oh, we don't need it. We've already got a database. We've already got these systems.
Yeah.
What do you kind of have to say to that? Like, we are continuing to see innovation happening, but yet people still push back on things like that we're doing.
I think it's pretty much the same case with every technology, not just AI. There's always going to be resistance. Actually, this is life philosophy. With every change, there's always going to be friction. Fire starts from friction, so there's always going to be friction in some way, but eventually change will overcome it. Sometimes the change might not work, and that's okay. We just learn from it, and there'll be change that does work. So, for example, MySpace, right? Yeah, that was a new idea. It didn't work out eventually, but it gave rise to a whole new industry, which is now working, like very big industry. So, some things might not work the first time, but it could give rise to things that do work the second time. and our standard of manual work will change.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're seeing AI automate the manual tasks, but in
Right.
the next few years, the manual tasks will be the automated tasks of today, and it will be trying to find new ways to automate that new manual task, which is basically similar to how when we were writing paper with pen and paper,
Yep.
the typewriter came. That typewriter was known as automation back then.
Yeah.
Then the computer came. That computer was known as automation of the typewriter. There will be new waves of automation, and that
Exactly.
will then change the way we see what is manual. So it's a never-ending standard. It's a standard that will always be chasing. So there'll always be change. Like that's how it works, I think.
Completely agree. I think that's going to happen. And an interesting area that we see doing a lot of stuff in the blockchain. We met in the blockchain space, and we met through your law firm, Susanna. Shout out to her, who introduced us over at HSF. Now, your role at HSF, how would you describe that? What are some of the things that you do there, and how does, I guess, AI play a role in that? Is the AI tracker that you built part of HSF, or is that a separate piece?
Yeah. So the AI track is a separate piece, which
Okay.
I'll go into later.
Yep.
I think what I'm doing right now is trying to work towards something called an AI lawyer. It's not really an official or mainstream field yet, but I think it's
Okay.
going to be one. AI lawyer practicing AI law. Again,
Wow.
the term AI law is a bit of a misnomer.
Okay.
It's really just a patchwork of IP, privacy, and consumer protection laws.
Okay.
But playing within those fields and advising clients on those issues. So basically, what I do in the day, which really started since the beginning of this year, was advising clients on whether it be a startup or a big client,
Yep.
they want to launch an AI project. They come to me saying, I have this idea or I have this project. What are the risks? Where can it go wrong?
Okay.
And
Yep.
advise them from a legal perspective. So I look into the data flows,
Yep.
privacy risks. I look into the content they produce, IP risks, how they sell to customers, any consumer protection risks,
Oh, wow.
and any other relevant considerations arising from the project.
Okay.
That's one angle. And then based on that advice, I can also help review their contracts.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of, software contracts are quite set in stone. They're quite standard right now. But
Yeah.
AI has challenged a lot of the traditional software contracts. Like, for example,
Yeah.
IP and copyright. The whole
was
idea
gonna
of
say,
derivative works.
Yeah.
Like, that sort of stuff. Privacy, also another big thing, scraping content off the internet.
Yeah.
That's another big issue, that contracts themselves are not really by default built to address. You kind of have to
Yeah.
tweak them, and you might also need to tweak the practical processes that a client has. That's one side. Another side is big companies wanting to implement some sort of framework or policy around their staff's use of AI, or how they
Oh,
develop
okay.
AI services.
Interesting.
This is known as responsible AI governance, which is kind of already an emerging field right now.
Right. Does it sit in
basically-
the data governance area?
yeah,
of the
it's kind
business,
of
or?
it's kind of like data governance to the next level.
Okay.
Responsible AI governance kind of builds upon data governance, cyber security, and also just general staff training and corporate governance. So it's kind of it's a new amalgamation of those things. And just some clients have really advanced policies, which
Yeah.
just need some small tweaking. Some clients have nothing at all, and we just need to start from scratch and building those policies. And
Wow.
so these are the main two streams of work I do as a quote-unquote AI lawyer.
Yep.
I think AI lawyer might be really... I think the ChatGPT moment for AI lawyering
Yep.
will be when Australia has its own AI regulation, if that ever comes through. Or
Interesting.
if we don't have AI-specific regulation,
Yeah.
a bunch of changes to our existing laws to account for AI. That's where we have these AI-specific legal questions becoming more common stream, and that's where the whole field... Similar to how privacy has evolved. Back then, privacy... It was more of a niche topic until we had the Privacy Act.
Yep.
All of a sudden, privacy is a field of law.
And it's going through a change right
Exactly.
now, the Privacy Act itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
To your point before, it was really interesting, and you hit the nail on the head, because I was just listening to a podcast where copyright's being brought into
Yeah.
question with, I can't remember which music group it was, but the fact that with, I think, one of the Anthropic, maybe it's Claude's model, the Claude 2 model that's getting sued. We'll have to check on that, obviously,
Yeah.
but one of those large language models getting sued because you can look up song lyrics in there, and it will come back to you what those lyrics are. The problem is that they're suing, the large language model provider, but at the same time, I can go to Google and I can see free to the public those same lyrics. So on the one hand, people can just get it for free, but on the other hand, the complaint is about it being part of this model. So it's like, where does the line get drawn? How does copyright get sorted out? But we lead into the next question, which is about the AI tracker that you built. There's so much change going on around the world. We have well experienced this, and we're going through it right now in the blockchain space with the latest digital asset kind of regulation proposed, which is out for consultation right now. But you built something in the AI space to help make it easier for people to see what's going on around the world. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Well, so it started from LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I like posting updates to AI regulation and policy. And I did that since I started posting regularly since last year, July. And I got to a point where I actually have quite a lot of posts accumulated. I have quite a lot of knowledge spread around the internet. And I thought I want to consolidate all my thinking, all my updates into one place. So that's where I had the idea of creating a website that could just consolidate that. And then that was the main purpose. But then I also started looking online, just seeing what trackers are out there.
Okay.
And I see two types of trackers. You have
Yeah.
the really well detailed trackers, but they're updated annually, or they're updated they're basically out of date by the time they're released.
Yeah.
So they're detailed but out of date.
Okay.
Then you have the other trackers which are updated regularly,
Yeah.
but they're either very minimal detail. It's really just copy and pasting Google search links into there, or so detailed, so legalese that a normal person, just non-legal person, just wouldn't be able to read.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not build a tracker that was updated every day?
Yeah.
Simple information.
Yep.
All you need, interactive map. Click on a region, get your profile. That's how I built it.
It's so good what you built
thank
there.
you.
And when you first put it out, there was just a massive influx of people that were enamored by this, because finally there's this tool to help them. And you keep it updated, but does the building blocks of what you had done before, did it help to you create this new thing, the building blocks of you getting into and tinkering with coding back from when you were in uni
definitely.
and over COVID lockdown and stuff, getting into it even more? Or did you have to learn new things as you built this?
No, it was, for me, this website, it was basic website dev,
Okay,
basic HTML, CSS, so I was able to build it over the weekend.
Wow.
The main work comes from the research, the content in it. So the website itself was easy to set up, but having to do the research, post it, get into the habit of updating it every day, that's where the main work comes through.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely like the coding fundamentals. Maybe I was brave enough and confident enough to be able to kickstart. I didn't have to hire someone. I could just do it all by myself.
If you were to do it now, do you think that you would use some tools like ChatGPT and whatnot to help you build it better? Or do you see ways that you could improve what you've already got out there? Because it's already great, but I mean, we're always looking to do more. And, the valuable thing, as you mentioned, is that not only do you have these regular updates, but you've got your insights in there as well. So it's not just a scrape. There's a lot of your blood, sweat, and tears in that, in a good way, obviously. But do you see? Would you do anything differently if you were to build it from scratch today?
Yeah. Well, it always comes down to like the purpose, right? The purpose I wanted was to consolidate knowledge, simple updates, and therefore, if I could do it without AI, I could just do it without AI.
Fantastic.
For ChatGPT, I'm thinking as a new feature, embedding some sort of language model that can help compare or find similarities between jurisdictions.
Absolutely.
I could do that manually, but there are many countries, many pairings, combinations and permutations I just can't do manually. For example, I want to be able to compare Australia with China, China with Malaysia, Malaysia with the US, all these pairings that you
don't want to do all of that yourself.
I don't want to do manually. It's like n to the factorial of something, that amount of combinations. So basically, if I could use a language model to do that in real time, autonomously, based on what I've written, so it's not searching online, it's just basing what I've written, lower hallucination risk. It's just doing compare. And I think that'd be a great feature to add.
I think this is the thing. It's great that the Pandora's box was open with ChatGPT public, even the premium or the free model. But people are realizing more and more that they need to reduce hallucinations, and you do that by having models that are specifically trained, just like what you've got there. So really interesting, and people will see the links here to dive into it more. So the next question is more about how you keep in touch
Yeah.
with, or keep up to date actually with what, there's so many things going on. Like I write a newsletter, I'm barely keeping in up to
Yeah.
date with like what's going on. How do you do it? Like do you think you're able to?
Yeah, well, teaser.
Yeah.
I have an automated system that I built myself that kind of collates info for me, which I'm going to release soon as a public version, an API for that. So
Wow,
stay tuned for that.
Alpha right here, folks. Geez, so describe that. What do you do there?
It basically just I basically have an algorithm that scrapes like news from like Google and like other news sources, and it just collates information based on the criteria that I set.
Okay.
So I only want regulatory policy related developments across XYZ countries, and
Wow.
it just sends me the news links, basically just links only, and I just look into them myself and see if I want to post it on my tracker. So that's just my secret tip to being on track, and also just regularly scrolling LinkedIn. I'm connected with a lot of people who are interested in this space, so naturally what they post, what they react to is all regulatory AI development related. So that also keeps me in touch. Yeah.
There's a few common names that we've seen that you comment on, or people that share your content. So if a good way to connect with people is just seeing those things and connecting with those people, because they also, like you said, they write about this kind of stuff. But it's good to see that you've got some automation in there with what you're doing. I think it's important. Like GPT and all these models, it just makes you rethink how you're doing things. Like, look, I'm going to have to do some post-production with this, but I know that there's AI tools. I just haven't played around with them yet, because you want to make sure that you can master them. But AI tools that can help you do the cutting and editing for things like this. Are you playing around with any other tools?
Oh, heaps. Like, just my philosophy is, if I want to be someone who talks about AI, I better be someone who actually uses AI.
Good.
Walk the walk, don't just talk the talk. So in addition to those tools that I build for myself, definitely I use like where appropriately, of course, assuming, let's say I've dealt with all the hallucination risks, like it's a brilliant tool. Like just the general chatbots like Bing, Bard, ChatGPT, those combination of tools, great for any text-based searches.
Claude?
Claude. Not yet Claude, but you have to try that out. But that'll be very cool to try.
They've expanded into more countries, so I don't know yet if Australia is on that list. I think it's now 95 countries. Australia hadn't been, so people were VPNing in. Right. But given the larger context windows that it can do, and the reasoning that it has, that's really competitive. That's a lot of people using that, so hopefully you get to try that out. What else are you trying?
Multiflow. Multiflow. It's like basically a drag and drop interface to build automated workflows. I use it to test ideas. So I'm the type of person who likes to think of a lot of automation ideas. Before I build it out, I like to test how it works.
Right.
Multiflow has a bunch of like tools and functions where you can just build a program in 10 seconds and see how it works.
Wow.
I see if it works, then I like to see if I can build my own customized version of it. So that's one thing I like to use.
Okay, very cool.
Video editing software like my video editing software like Filmora has a bunch of AI features in there. To me, I don't really see that as using AI. It's more just using the feature within the program.
Yeah.
But, at least I'm confident. I'm aware like these are features that I should be looking into.
Yep.
There's a difference between someone who knows there are AI features but is afraid to use them versus someone who knows there are features and is using them in a creative way. It's not the tool itself that's like it bad or good. It's how you use them and how you apply your creativity to use them. So I feel like people often there's often a misconception where AI is gonna reduce or kill creativity. I actually think it's the opposite. It's actually gonna unleash our creativity because maybe it might be because I'm an open-minded person, but I feel like all these tools has really made me more creative. I can do less grunt work, do more strategic, high level, high thinking, and just let it flow with low cost. Like, it's crazy.
I understand it because it is threatening certain jobs, but at the same time, that is part of the friction that we are going through.
It is part of the friction.
We continually innovate. The barriers are now lower. There's more people. Like, there's some people that could be really good. They just don't know how to use a certain tool. But with AI, they can describe what it is that they want. That creativity becomes something that we all love. Like, imagine if we didn't have certain tools and movies that we love or kind of artworks that are created, they wouldn't have been available had Photoshop not been invented. Exactly. So I feel like I'm on your page. It's the same kind of thing. So I'm glad to hear that it's unleashing your creativity and stuff. So, on that note, where do you see the future heading with all of this kind of stuff? What is emerging tech kind of driving? I don't know if you're still doing much stuff in blockchain, but certainly with AI, what do you see, maybe from the perspective of lawyers and how your industry is working? You've alluded to a bit of that, but just in general as well, the economy and working and stuff. What do you see the future of AI being?
I can also comment a bit on blockchain. I feel like the direction blockchain and AI are heading are different, but they'll overlap. Blockchain is heading to it's trying to become a mainstream infrastructure. So blockchain's like infrastructure-based tech. AI is more of an application-based tech. It's something that you use to automate use cases or apps. So applications run on infrastructure.
Yep.
That's where I see the potential overlap between AI and blockchain, whether that be federated learning, whether that be blockchain to keep track of copyright or IP that used to train AI.
Yep.
There's many touch points between those two, but I see it as infrastructure. How can infrastructure solve application? That's the analogy as to how blockchain solves AI problems and vice versa. In the long term, this might sound like a negative or optimistic view, depending on how you see it. But I wish to see emerging tech becoming boring tech. That's when you know it's become successful.
Yep.
Just like how in the 1990s, internet was so cool.
Yeah.
Now internet is kind of boring. No one really says I'm an internet lawyer or I'm an internet expert. It's same thing with online shopping. Back then, online shopping was a new thing, but now online shopping is kind of granted or taken, like basically given. So
absolutely,
I think blockchain and AI, if they become mainstream tech that no one really talks about, I think we did a good job. And of course, there'll be new tech to pursue. There'll be new issues. There'll be people there'll be a new set of jobs and new industries that are there to sustain and maintain those industries. Kind of like how when cars were invented, it created the road industry, petrol industry, every other industry, and we have people still in those industries maintaining those things. So
absolutely,
I think people might think it's negative, people might think it's optimistic, but I feel like that's the future. Yeah.
I think it's interesting that we are the creators of the innovations that are there that smooth the rails, and then other humans maybe find, or even the same humans, let's just categorize it into one. We find new frictions. We find new things to do. Like this thought that AI is here, all our jobs are going to be automated. Not true, because you'll find something else to do. There'll be other ways to get paid. I know that there's that argument around universal basic income, but we didn't have that. We didn't have that in the past. When people went from horses to cars, those people that were working on horses in that industry changed into other roles. They didn't just all of a sudden, we'll have to find a way to pay them a basic, universal basic income. Now, maybe that isn't the case for all, but there's nothing that's hard and fast. There's nothing that's black and white. So I think importantly, you need to embrace this kind of stuff. You need to follow Ray on LinkedIn.
Thank you.
Obviously. But given that there's a strong community out there of people that are really interested in this kind of stuff and wish to keep updated, there's meetups that we're doing in data science and AI Australia. People see it at the blockchain events as well through AusDeFi. But what are your thoughts on community? How important is that for the things that you're doing?
Oh, it's critical. I wouldn't be able to do many things that I've done today without a community. Community can stem from just your family members to, let's say, to industry people that meet at networks. It's not everything you can do by yourself. Like, I know there's a lot of you can try to do many things yourself, but just some things you just need support of people. And don't be afraid to reach out for support, and don't be afraid to team up with people. And maybe we can't take all the credit, but you made you do something. That's still sharing is caring. So I believe community is really important. And I feel like those who do really well have an understanding of community and have an understanding that it's not just themselves. They're not the main player in the show. There's a lot of people around you, and there's, whether they're invisible or visible, there's a lot of people there. For example, just me and you, right? I wouldn't be able to go on this podcast if I hadn't known Mark, hadn't joined the community. Mark, like, this is genuine, not just on camera, but like, you've given me a lot of opportunities, like just whether it be like stages or just doing talks and meeting new people. Like, I'm really grateful for you, and I'm trying to do the same, just sharing back those benefits to other people. It's all about the circular economy, just in circular karma in a way. And
paying it forward and
paying it forward. And I feel like it's also key open-mindedness. You can do all the things, you can do all the networking events, you can do all these social media campaigns, but if you're doing it for the sake of doing it, highly unlikely you'll get the true benefit.
Yeah.
It's also like genuineness, authenticity, and open-minded. Like not being afraid to be challenged, to have your assumptions challenged. Sometimes I post content, getting comments that challenge me, and
Great.
you know, like sometimes it hurts in the first instance. Oh,
Yeah.
snap! But then you read it and make a good point, and
Yeah.
it changes you, like, in a good way. Like you become more open-minded, you become more considerate, and I feel like as a person, I've grown a lot over the past 2 years since doing all these community things. I think I've definitely matured a bit more. I've gained more like wisdom, I think, and
We've seen it.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I feel like it's definitely crucial. Yeah.
Mate, the saying goes that a wise man is willing to change, right?
Yeah,
His thoughts and beliefs giving you information, and one of the other things you mentioned there before, what was that about? Am I having a mind blank? I'm having a mind blank, but you know what? That people really need to connect with you. And thank you so much for your kind words. I think the circular economy and paying it forward, that's how we grow.
Exactly.
Like, we always want people that come into this space, to the meetups, for example, to bring someone new in.
Exactly.
And just have that community kind of grow. There's people that maybe they haven't been to some of the events for a long time, but they remember something good from that one event that they went to, and they've been busy building. Hopefully what happens from this is that people are inspired from the things that you have been able to do. You've proven that it's certainly possible. So, you know, how do people get in touch with you if they want to talk some more? Where are the best ways to reach out to you?
My LinkedIn, that's one place. I actually have a personal website that has all my socials in there. You can just pick and choose your favorite platform, and I'll be there.
What is that? We'll put it in the show notes, but what is it?
www.techieray.com. That's it.
Perfect. Well, check it out here below. In the meantime, Ray, thank you so much for all of your help with everything that we're doing, and we look forward to having you on the show again.
Thank you. Let's
Cheers.
go. Oh,
there you go. That was pretty powerful. All right, folks, we'll see you again for another Getting to Know the Community and Project series soon.
Let's go.